If you're watching this video, I'd like to start out by saying thank you and welcome. Cheers! I appreciate you taking the time to find the channel and click on one of the videos to see if it's worthwhile. A lot of the time on this channel we'll be talking about perspectives, and the main theme of the channel is, of course, role-playing games. There are many ways to play, and there are many games out there, far more than you see around me here. Each of those games has its own system. Each of those systems are valued by some and reviled by others, and a lot of online discussion about role-playing games ends up being about, well, maybe things which are ultimately a waste of time. I think it is good that we get to know each other and we understand our different points of view and perspectives. I think it's essential to open our minds to the points of view of other people. I think it's essential to know what it is that we're looking at. For example, many of the people who see this frosted and melting glass of an amber liquid are going to assume that it's beer. Those who don't know me, that is. Of course, what it actually is ginger ale. So, what we see, what we assume, what we think we see, these things are not always the same. And that's one of the things that I like to get into when I explore new games, when I share my play experiences with my different groups, and when I invite people to contribute and talk about their game experiences. I love, I guess you could say, in all honesty, role-playing games, and I like being able to share with other people their experiences and our differing perspectives. If I were asked to suggest a thing which ties all role-playing games together, the one common thread, it would be imagination. Without that, we're talking about something else. Many believe that role-playing games are about creating stories. Many believe they are about inhabiting characters. Many believe they are about having the opportunity to make decisions. But all of these things hinge upon a game's ability to foster our imagination. But even though that I see as the common core of all role-playing game activities, how we get there differs. Even among games that are fundamentally similar in how they approach guiding, inspiring, or supporting imagination, even in those similar frameworks, we can find that there is a world of difference. We may be asked to imagine things from a heroic perspective or a comedic one. We may be asked to be introspective, or we may be asked merely to be practical, to understand what is happening to us, where it is happening, and respond. We may be given lavish settings. We may be triggered by visual memory from other media. We may be put into situations where we have to expand and pull apart and then share the things which make character. We may be given nothing at all except rules to guide reality. But in the end, all of these things are working with our imagination, and from that basis of imagination, we move forward into our shared goals, our shared vivid imaginings around the table, be that for laughs, be that to explore different perspectives, be that to demonstrate how things might be if we were there, or to overcome challenge. Whether with a complete and vibrant setting or laser focused on just one thing, these frameworks of imagination come to us in completely different ways. The games can support play without character, or can support play with a deeply, deeply granular focus on character, or somewhere in between. They can be about character, or about story, or about none of these things, but instead about decision, and each one approaches how to get there, how to get into play from a different point of view. Whether we take buckets full of dice and slow time down to a crawl to assess and analyze every detail of what we want to do, or go even deeper until we reveal things that, even to our own naked eye, are not apparent, details so precise and exact that they spark new imagination and new ideas. New perspectives are provided, formed, different points of view made plain, either by stepping into a role or by deciding, like a writer would, what should happen next. There are so many different ways to play, so many things to spark and inspire, shape imagination, and interaction about imagination. It's like limitless possibility. It's the alchemy of the role-playing game. It's the difference between reading a book, a comic, watching a film, chatting with friends, playing a video game. Decision, interaction, and the different ways that imagination can flower in each of us. Whether we have miniatures and maps scattered around to form one type of framework of imagination, whether we play entirely on a level supported only by what we say. This is what makes role-playing games special. We could argue it's the role, stepping in some way into character, either floating above the character, guiding it as a director, or seeking to inhabit the character and explore it. Whether it is the experience of having the character move through recognizable events of story, or experience the day-to-day realities of their lives. Whether it is more like writers sitting around together discussing, wouldn't it be cool? And then making it happen through the vehicle of the game. Maybe it's the game that pulls you in. It could be so. Maybe it's the combination of the role in the way that you see roles, and the game in the way that you see the game. Is it the anticipation of the dice, the interaction of the rules, the application of the rules at the right time? Who can say? Maybe it's just the novelty of a new set of rules and a new way to frame our imaginings. Maybe it's the play. Maybe it is the condition of being together in one place, undertaking one thing for the spirit of fun or enjoyment, or at least clever interaction. Some games aren't all that fun in the classic sense of the word, but, well, they make play worthwhile. I think there's enough room for us to discuss them, play them, and share them without arguing all that much about the way to play, who's right, what's better. At the end of the day, it seems to me that all the decisions we make about our games are founded in preference. This preference is either informed or uninformed. It's either satisfied or unsatisfied. We all need each other to play role-playing games. We all need each other to help build that framework of imagination which exists beyond the printed page, beyond the sculpted video game screen, beyond the cinematic genius of our filmographers. So, which games do you like? Which games are better? Does it really matter? It's how, perhaps, you play the game.